The Empress was amazed that a human soldier defied her army alone. The sky above the border plain was wide and pale like a quiet sea of light. Wind moved softly across the tall grass, bending it in slow waves. In the distance, dark towers rose from the ground, marking the edge of the great empire. This was the land ruled by the Empress, a leader known for her strong will and her vast army. Many believed no one could walk into her territory without fear. Yet a single human soldier did just that. He walked alone, carrying no flag and showing no sign of anger. His clothes were worn from long travel, and dust covered his boots. He had crossed empty valleys and cold hills to reach this place. Every step forward felt heavy, not because of the ground, but because of the weight of what he hoped to change. He was not there to challenge the army with strength. He was there to challenge the future with hope. As he moved closer to the tall gates, watchers noticed him from the walls. Their eyes followed his slow, steady walk. They expected a group, or at least a sign of threat. But there was only one person. The soldier did not rush, he did not hide. He walked in the open, under the wide sky, as if he wanted everyone to see that he came without fear. The guards spoke among themselves in low voices. Some felt confused, others felt uneasy. They had been trained to face large forces. Not a single person who looked calm and quiet. Still, they followed their duty. They raised their signals, and the news traveled through the walls and halls of the empire. A human had arrived. A human stood at the gate alone. Inside the tall palace, the Empress sat in a wide chamber filled with soft light. High windows showed the sky above, and banners moved gently in the air. She listened as a messenger spoke. His voice was careful, like someone walking on thin ice. "A human soldier stands at the border," he said. "He carries no weapon in his hands. He does not ask for shelter. He only asks to be heard." The Empress leaned back in her seat. Her face showed no surprise, only deep thought. Many had come to her lands before. Most came with demands or fear. This one came with neither. That alone caught her attention. "Let him walk," she said. "Let the army watch."
I want to see what kind of person moves alone into a sea of power. Back at the gates, the soldier felt the eyes of hundreds on him.
The walls were tall and shadows moved along the stone. He could sense the quiet strength behind them. Still, he did not stop. He took slow steps forward until he reached the open ground before the gate. He stood there, waiting. His mind traveled back to his home. He remembered small houses built close together, children running through narrow paths, and older people sitting in the sun, telling stories of better days. He remembered the sound of laughter and the warmth of shared meals. Those memories were the reason he stood here now. He believed that if war came, those simple moments would fade. He did not want to see that future. The wind picked up, pulling at his clothes. He closed his eyes for a moment and breathed in. He reminded himself that courage did not mean feeling no fear. It meant choosing to move forward even when fear was close. A group of guards stepped out from the gate. Their armor caught the light, and their faces were serious. They formed a line, leaving space between them and the soldier. No one spoke at first. The air felt still, like the moment before a storm. The soldier raised his hands slowly, showing they were empty. "I came to speak," he said. His voice was calm, not loud, but clear. "I came because I believe both our people deserve a future without endless pain." The guards did not move. Some looked at each other, unsure of what to do. They had been trained to react to threat, not to words. One guard stepped forward. "You are alone," he said. "Why come here by yourself?" The soldier gave a small, gentle smile. "Because I wanted you to see I do not bring harm. I bring a message." That answer stayed with the guards. It was simple, but it carried weight. They signaled for him to follow. The gates did not open wide, but a path was made. As the soldier walked inside the outer area of the empire, he saw the scale of what the empress ruled. Rows of buildings stretched far into the distance. Roads were clean and strong. People moved with purpose. Soldiers trained in open fields, their movements smooth and precise. This place was built on order and strength. Some people stopped to watch him pass. They whispered to each other. A human walking freely inside their lands was rare. Some faces showed curiosity. Others showed doubt. The soldier kept his eyes forward, but he felt the weight of every look. He reminded himself that he was not here for comfort. He was here for change. High above, in a quiet room with a wide view, the Empress watched him through a clear screen. She saw the way he walked, not proud, not weak, but steady. She noticed how he looked at the city, not with hunger for power, but with careful interest. It was as if he was trying to understand, not judge. "He does not move like someone who seeks to win," she said softly to herself. "He moves like someone who seeks to reach." The soldier was brought to a simple waiting area, open to the sky. He was given water and a place to sit. He accepted both with thanks. He did not rush. He did not demand. He waited. Time passed slowly. The sun moved across the sky. The air grew cooler. Still, he stayed where he was. He thought about the stories he had heard about the Empress. Some said she ruled with a hard hand. Others said she carried a heavy past. He did not know which was true. He only knew that every leader was still a person behind the title. As the light began to fade, a signal sounded. The guard stood straighter. The path ahead opened. The soldier rose to his feet. His heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. He took a step forward, then another. He did not know what would happen next. He only knew he had come this far, and turning back now would mean leaving his hope behind. From her high seat, the Empress leaned forward. The moment she had been waiting for was near. A single human, standing at the edge of her great world, had already done something few ever had. He had made her curious, and in that small spark of curiosity, the first change had begun. The morning light came softly over the tall walls of the empire, painting the stone in warm colors. Birds moved across the open sky, and the city slowly woke with quiet sounds of footsteps and distant voices. The human soldier had not slept much. He sat where he had been told to wait, watching the world around him begin another day. He thought about home again. He remembered the simple things people did in the early hours. Someone would light a small fire for warmth. Someone else would carry water from a nearby stream. Those small moments felt far away now, but they gave him strength. They reminded him why he had come so far, alone, into a place of great power. The group of guards arrived as the sun rose higher. Their steps were calm and steady. They did not speak right away. One of them gave a short signal, and the others formed a loose line around the soldier. It did not feel like a trap. It felt like a test. He stood and followed them without question. They led him through wide paths and open squares where people stopped to look. The soldier could feel their eyes, but he also noticed something else. Some faces showed fear. Some showed interest. A few even showed hope. That surprised him more than anything else. He had expected only cold stares. Instead, he saw small signs of quiet curiosity, like people wondering if change was possible. They brought him to a large open field near the edge of the city. The ground was flat and clean. Tall banners moved in the wind. Lines were marked on the ground, simple and clear. This was a place where the Empire tested strength and focus. The soldier took in the space and stayed calm. One guard stepped forward. "The Empress wants to see who you truly are," he said. "Not through words alone, but through action." The soldier nodded. "I understand." The first test was simple. He was asked to stand in the open field under the sun. No shade, no seat, just time and stillness. The sun climbed higher, and the heat grew strong. The ground felt warm under his boots. His throat grew dry, and his legs began to ache. Guards watched from a distance. Some talked quietly among themselves. They expected him to move, to complain, or to fall. He did none of those. He focused on slow breaths. He thought about the faces from home, about shared meals and quiet laughter. He reminded himself that this discomfort was small compared to the future he wanted to protect. Hours passed. At last, the guards ended the test. They brought him water. He took it with thanks and shared a little with a nearby guard who looked tired from standing in the sun as well. That small act did not go unnoticed. The second test came later. He was led into a narrow path lined with tall walls. The air there felt cooler, but heavier. Sounds echoed in strange ways. Shadows moved along the stone, making it hard to see clearly. The guards told him to walk forward and not look back. As he moved, he heard footsteps behind him. He heard quiet sounds, like someone moving close. His heart beat faster, but he kept walking. He did not run. He did not turn. He trusted that fear did not need to control his steps. At the end of the path, he stopped. The guards appeared from behind the walls. One of them nodded slowly.
"You did not let the unknown stop you?"
he said. The soldier gave a simple answer. "If I stop every time I feel unsure, I will never reach anything that matters." That answer spread among the guards. Some of them shared it in low voices as they walked back. The third test was different. He was brought to a place where a few young guards were training. One of them had slipped and hurt their leg. They were trying to stand, but it was clear they were in pain. The soldier saw this before anyone spoke to him. Without being asked, he walked over and offered help. He supported the guard and helped them sit down. He showed them how to rest their leg and take slow breaths. His movements were gentle and careful. The watching guards were quiet. This test had no rules written on a wall. It was about choice. Later, the soldier was given a small meal. It was simple but warm. He ate slowly and thanked the people who brought it. He did not rush. He did not ask for more. He seemed grateful for what he had. High above, the Empress watched again. She saw the way he stood in the sun. She saw the way he walked through the narrow path without panic. Most of all, she saw the way he helped someone without being told to do so. "He is not here to win," she said softly. "He is here to connect." That idea stayed with her. As the day moved on, the soldier was taken back to the open waiting area. He sat and looked at the sky as clouds drifted by. A young guard stood nearby, quieter than the others. After a moment, the guard spoke.
"Why do you keep going?"
he asked.
"You could leave. You don't have to be here."
The soldier thought for a moment. "Because I believe every place, even one built on great strength, can choose a softer path," he said. "I believe people are more than the rules they follow." The guard nodded slowly. He did not say anything else, but his face showed deep thought. As evening came, the city lights began to glow softly. The soldier felt tired, but he also felt something new. The space around him did not feel as cold as it had before. Small changes had begun, not in walls or banners, but in people. From her high seat, the Empress rested her hand on the arm of her chair. The human had not raised a weapon. He had not made a demand. Yet he had left a mark. The army she ruled was strong, trained, and loyal. But now she could sense something moving beneath the surface. A quiet question had been planted, and once a question is planted, it can grow into something no force can easily stop. The day began with a low, steady hum across the city. It was not loud, but it carried far, like a breath held by many people at once. The human soldier noticed it as soon as he opened his eyes. Something felt different in the air. The guards who came to walk past him no longer looked only curious. Some looked thoughtful, some looked unsure. He stood and stretched his tired legs. The stone beneath his feet was cool from the night. He took a slow breath and looked up at the sky. Clouds moved gently, as if they had all the time in the world. He wished people could move that way too, without rushing toward trouble. A group of guards approached him, larger than before. Their steps were firm, and their faces were serious. The soldier did not feel fear, but he did feel the weight of the moment. He knew this day might be harder than the others. One of the guards spoke. "You will walk with us to the main square." The soldier nodded and followed. The main square was wide and open, surrounded by tall buildings and long balconies. People were already gathering, standing in quiet lines or small groups. Soldiers stood along the edges, forming a clear path through the center. Banners moved slowly in the breeze above. The soldier could feel hundreds of eyes on him as he walked forward. He stayed calm and steady. He kept his hands open and his head high, not in pride, but in honesty. He wanted everyone to see that he was not hiding anything. In the high palace, the empress watched from a wide window. She had ordered this gathering. She wanted to see what would happen when the humans stood in the heart of her world, not on its edge. The soldier reached the center of the square and stopped. For a moment there was only silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then a line of soldiers stepped forward. They stood in front of him, forming a barrier between him and the crowd. Their posture was strong, their faces trained to show no feeling. The guard at the front spoke. "This is where you decide," he said. "You can turn back." "You can leave our lands." The soldier looked at the line of soldiers. He looked at the people behind them. He saw young faces, old faces, tired faces. He saw people who had grown up under the shadow of strength and order. He took a slow breath. "I did not come this far to turn back," he said. His voice was not loud, but it carried. "I came to speak, not just to leaders, but to everyone who lives here." Some guards shifted their weight. A few people in the crowd leaned forward. The guard frowned. "Words do not change the world," he said. The soldier gave a small nod. "Maybe not alone," he replied, "but they can change the people who do." That line moved through the square like a soft wave. The guard hesitated. He did not step aside, but he did not move forward either. The soldier took one careful step closer. He did not touch the line. He simply stood near it. "I come from a place where we once believed strength was the only answer," he said. "We built walls, not just of stone, but of fear. We thought that if we held tight enough, nothing could hurt us." People listened. Even the guards kept still. "But what we learned," the soldier continued, "is that fear grows when it is locked away. It spreads quietly. It turns neighbors into strangers. It turns leaders into watchers instead of listeners."
A low murmur moved through the crowd.
The soldier looked at the soldiers in front of him. "You stand here to protect your people? That is a good thing. But protection is more than standing in a line. It is also standing for a future where your people do not always have to stand in lines at all." One of the soldiers lowered his eyes. Another tightened their grip on their gear, then slowly relaxed it. High above, the Empress leaned closer to the window. She had expected anger, or challenge, or bold demands. What she saw instead was something quieter and more dangerous to control. Honesty. The soldier turned slightly so he could speak to the crowd, as well as the guards.
"I am not here to tell you what to believe," he said. "I am here to ask you what kind of world you want to live in."
One where every day is about holding ground, or one where every day is about building something better. A young person in the crowd looked at their friend and whispered something. An older person nodded slowly, as if remembering a long-past dream. The line of soldiers was no longer perfect. Small gaps had formed, not in their position, but in their focus. The guard at the front took a slow breath. "If you speak like this, you will cause trouble," he said. The soldier met his eyes. Sometimes trouble is the first sign that something needs to change. There was a long pause. Then, something simple but powerful happened. One soldier took a small step back. It was not a dramatic move. It was quiet, but everyone saw it. The space between the line and the soldier grew by just a little. That small space felt larger than the entire square. The Empress felt it too. Her hand tightened on the edge of the window. She had built her empire on clear lines, clear rules, and clear control. What she was seeing now was a line that had begun to blur. The soldier did not move forward. He did not take advantage of the moment. He simply stood where he was. "Thank you," he said softly, not to the soldier who stepped back, but to everyone. The crowd grew quieter, not from fear, but from thought. The guard slowly stepped aside, creating a narrow path through the square. It was not an order from above. It was a choice made on the ground. The soldier walked forward, not as someone who had won, but as someone who had been allowed to pass. People watched him go. Some felt uneasy. Some felt hopeful. Most felt something they could not yet name. By the time he reached the far side of the square, the world around him did not feel the same as it had that morning. From her high place, the Empress stepped back from the window. She did not sit right away. She stood in silence, thinking. A single human had not broken her army. He had not challenged her power with force. He had done something far more difficult. He had shown her that even the strongest lines can shift when people start to see each other, not as parts of a system, but as parts of a shared future. And now she knew she could not ignore that truth. The night after the gathering in the main square was quiet in a way the city had not felt for a long time. Lights glowed softly in windows, and the usual sounds of movement and command were slower, gentler. The human soldier sat in the open waiting area again, looking up at the stars that now filled the sky. They felt closer here, as if the world had taken a deep breath. He thought about what had happened in the square. He did not feel proud. He felt careful. He knew that words could open doors, but they could also make people uneasy. Change was never simple. It moved like water, slow at first, then stronger once it found a path. Footsteps approached. He turned and saw a small group of guards, but they did not form a line this time. They stood in a loose circle, leaving space in the center. One of them stepped forward. "The Empress wants to see you," the guard said. The soldier stood. His heart beat a little faster, but he kept his calm. He nodded and followed them. They walked through quiet halls where the walls were smooth and tall. Soft light came from lamps set high above, casting long shadows on the floor. The soldier noticed the details now. The careful patterns in the stone, the way the air felt cooler and still inside. This place had been built to last. They reached a wide door. It opened without a sound. Inside was a large room with high windows and a simple floor. The Empress stood near one of the windows, looking out at the city below. She did not turn right away. The guard stopped at the door and stayed there. The soldier walked forward a few steps and stopped, keeping a respectful distance. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, the Empress turned. She was not dressed in heavy symbols of power. Her clothing was simple, and her face showed lines of thought, not anger. Her eyes were sharp, but not cold. "You walk into my lands alone," she said. "You speak to my soldiers, you stand in my square, and ask my people to think. That is not a small thing." The soldier nodded. "I know," he said. "I did not come to be small." "Why?" she asked. He took a slow breath. "Because I have seen what happens when people stop listening to each other. It starts with silence. Then it grows into distance. Then it becomes something no one knows how to cross." The Empress studied him. "You speak as if you have lost something." "I have," he said. "We all have in one way or another. She walked a few steps closer, her footsteps light on the floor. My empire was built to protect my people, she said. Before it existed, they lived in fear. They were pushed aside. They were forgotten. I promised them they would never feel that way again. The soldier listened carefully. But protection, she continued, can turn into a wall. And walls can turn into cages. I did not build this place to trap my people. The soldier looked at the wide windows, at the city beyond.
Maybe that is why I felt I could come here, he said.
I do not see a place built only on control. I see a place built on care that became heavy over time. The Empress was quiet. She walked back to the window and rested her hand on the stone ledge. When I was younger, she said, I watched my home change. I watched leaders fall. I watched promises break. I learned that if you hold power too loosely, it can slip away. If you hold it too tightly, it can break what you are trying to protect. The soldier nodded slowly. I think that is true for people as well, he said. We can hold on to our fears so tightly that we forget how to hold on to each other. The Empress turned back to him. You do not speak like a soldier. He gave a small smile. I am one. But I am also a person who misses home. That simple line changed the space between them. For a moment, the title of Empress and the role of soldier felt lighter. She walked to a simple seat and sat down. Tell me about this home you speak of, she said. The soldier thought for a moment, then spoke. He talked about narrow streets and open fields. He talked about people who argued in the morning and shared meals at night. He talked about old stories told by small fires and young voices asking questions about the world. He talked about how, even when things were hard, people found ways to care for each other. As he spoke, the Empress listened. She did not interrupt. Her eyes did not wander. When he finished, she looked down at her hands. My world is large, she said. It is full of systems and plans and lines that must be held. Sometimes I forget the small things. The fires. The stories. The quiet moments. The soldier said gently, those small things are often what make the large ones worth keeping. The Empress stood again. She walked to the center of the room. You stood in my square today, she said. You did not shout. You did not demand. And yet you moved my soldiers more than any command I have given in years.
I did not mean to move them away from you, the soldier said quickly. I only meant to move them closer to themselves. She considered that.
Power is easy when it is only about control, she said. It is harder when it is about trust. The soldier met her eyes. Trust is slow, he said, but it lasts longer. Silence filled the room again. Not heavy this time, but thoughtful. Finally, the Empress nodded once. You will stay one more day, she said. Tomorrow I will stand before my people and my army. Not to give an order, to speak. The soldier felt a quiet relief. Thank you, he said, for listening. She gave a small, almost unseen smile. You did not just ask me to listen, she said. You reminded me how. The guards opened the door. The soldier turned to leave, then paused. I hope, he said, that whatever you choose tomorrow, it brings your people closer, not farther apart. The Empress watched him go. When he was gone, she stood alone in the wide room. She looked out at the city again, at the many lights that marked so many lives. For the first time in a long while, she did not think about lines to hold or systems to protect. She thought about people sitting by small fires, telling stories, and wondering what kind of world they would wake up to in the morning. And she knew that when the sun rose, she would have to choose what kind of leader she wanted to be in that world. And the morning sun rose slowly over the city, touching the tall buildings and wide streets with soft light. The air felt fresh, like the world had been washed clean during the night. People began to gather in the open spaces, not because they were ordered to, but because they felt something important was about to happen. The human soldier stood near the edge of the main square. He kept his hands folded in front of him and watched the crowd grow. Families stood together. Guards stood nearby, but their posture was different now. They did not look like a wall. They looked like part of the crowd. High above, the Empress stepped out onto a wide balcony. The city grew quiet as people noticed her. She stood tall, but her face was calm, not hard. She did not wear heavy symbols of power. She looked like a leader who wanted to be seen, not just obeyed. The human soldier felt his heartbeat a little faster. He did not know what she would say. He only knew that whatever happened next would reach far beyond this square. The Empress raised her hand, and the last few whispers faded. "My people," she began, her voice clear and steady. "For many years I have spoken to you about strength, about safety, about holding what we have built." She paused and looked across the crowd.
"Those things still matter," she said. "But there is something else that matters too.
Something quieter. Something easier to forget." People leaned in, listening. "Last night," she continued, "I spoke with a traveler who came here alone. He did not come with demands. He did not come with fear. He came with a simple belief that people, even in the strongest places, still need to be heard." The crowd stirred softly. The human soldier felt many eyes turned toward him. He lowered his gaze, not wanting to be the center of attention. This was not about him. It was about what the Empress was choosing to share. "I have led this empire through careful plans and clear rules," the Empress said. "Those things have kept us standing, but I have learned that standing still for too long can make us forget how to walk forward." Some people nodded, others looked thoughtful. "I do not want a future where my people only feel safe," she said. "I want a future where my people feel connected, where they feel like they are part of what we are building, not just living inside it." A low sound of agreement moved through the square. The Empress turned slightly, looking at the guards who stood closest to her. "You are trained to protect," she said, "and you do that well. But remember, you also protect by listening, by noticing when someone is tired or worried or unsure. Strength is not only in how we stand, it is also in how we reach out." The guard stood taller, not from command, but from pride. The Empress looked back at the crowd. "Today I am choosing a new path for us, not one that throws away what we have built, but one that opens it. We will create spaces for voices to be heard, for questions to be asked, for ideas to grow." The square was silent for a long moment. Then, someone in the crowd began to clap. Slowly, others joined. The sound grew, not loud and wild, but steady and warm. The human soldier felt a tightness in his chest ease. He had not known what he was hoping for, but this felt close to it. The Empress raised her hand again, and the clapping faded. "To the traveler who reminded me of this," she said, turning toward the soldier, "I offer my thanks." The soldier took a small step forward. He did not bow deeply. He simply placed a hand over his chest. "I did not come to change a leader," he said softly, but his voice carried. "I came because I believed the people here already had the power to change their future." The Empress gave a small nod, accepting his words. The gathering slowly began to break apart. People talked in quiet groups. Guards spoke with families. The square felt less like a place of order and more like a place of life. The human soldier walked away from the center and toward the edge of the city. He knew it was time to leave. His role here was finished. As he reached the outer path, a young guard approached him. The guard did not stand stiffly this time. He stood like a person. "Thank you," the guard said. "For making us think." The soldier smiled. Thank you for listening." The guard stepped aside, and the path opened. The soldier walked beyond the tall walls and back into the wide land. The grass moved in the wind, and the sky stretched far above him. The city behind him did not feel like a place he was escaping. It felt like a place he was leaving in good hands. He thought about home again. He imagined telling people about what he had seen. Not about towers or banners, but about a leader who chose to speak instead of command, and people who chose to listen instead of turn away. He did not see himself as a hero. He saw himself as a bridge. A small one, perhaps, but enough for others to walk across. High above, the Empress stood on her balcony long after the square had emptied. She watched the small figure of the soldier move farther and farther away until he became just a shape against the land. She placed her hand on the stone railing and took a deep breath. Her empire was still strong. The walls still stood. The guards still trained. But something inside the city had shifted. It was not written in law. It was not carved in stone. It lived in conversations that would happen that night, in questions children would ask, in the way guards would look at travelers who came through the gates. She turned back into the palace, knowing her work was only beginning. Far from the city, the human soldier walked under the open sky. The road ahead was long, but it did not feel heavy. He felt lighter than he had in a long time. He did not know if the changes he had seen would last forever. He only knew that for one moment, in one place, people had chosen to look at each other with new eyes. And sometimes he thought, that is enough to start a better story.